This is the anti-all-pro team. Nobody wants to be on this list. These guys came into this season with sky-high expectations and haven't even come close to meeting them. Let's get right into this. At quarterback, we've got Patrick Mahomes, the prematurely declared baby GOAT of the NFL. He's going to throw more interceptions this season than in his previous 2 seasons combined. He's almost on pace to double his career high of total interceptions in a single season. Now the Chiefs are in an unexpectedly tight race in the AFC West, and it's not going to be the Chiefs defense that pulls them out of it. Some people would argue that after 2 years of the ball bouncing his way almost every time, that this is just what he looks like when the ball is not bouncing his way. It doesn't help that his brother is making these embarrassing TikToks on the weekly, and then his mom and his wife are using Twitter as their personal diaries and just venting to the world, and it's not a good look for anybody involved. But Mahomes is too talented, and his team is too good for him to stay in this rut all season. Let me know in the comments if you think that he can turn it around, or if this is the real Patrick Mahomes. At running back, I've got Miles "Booby" Sanders. Now, severe injuries that have cost players multiple games were not a factor when I was selecting players for this list, so the guys on this list have seen the field plenty, they're just not making the plays. Miles Sanders suffered an ankle injury that was serious enough to go to IR, so his stat line sits with 63 rushes for 300 yards, which is not bad, but 0 touchdowns. He also had 19 receptions, 0 touchdowns. I'm not sure how a starting running back can make it 7 games into an NFL season and still not find the end zone. And what's worse is that Jordan Howard has come in and scored 3 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Now, they're very different style of running backs, but Miles Sanders is a very talented running back who's been given every opportunity and has just failed to take advantage of them. And then at the wide receiver 1 spot, this was a pretty easy selection. Henry Ruggs III came in after being the 12th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. This looked like it had potential to be a breakout season for him. Not only did he not produce as well as he expected on the field, but his legacy now will forever be a disappointment off the field also. And I find it very ironic that a guy can run faster than anybody else on the football field still feels a need to get in a car and drive an absurd speed while under the influence. Makes no sense, dude. Leave the drag racing to the fat guys that can't run on a football field like you can. But now Henry Ruggs' career is basically over, and he is looking at a long-term jail sentence, so yeah. And there were a ton of options at wide receiver, so I included 2 for this position. The second one being Robbie Anderson for the Panthers. There was so much hype about him and Sam Darnold reuniting. You thought that they would be able to reignite the spark that they showed briefly while with the Jets. And you could argue that Sam Darnold belongs on this list instead of Robbie Anderson. But after leaving us with one of the best videos of the 2020 NFL season, Robbie Anderson now leaves us with a video of him screaming at his starting quarterback. We will see if his production can get a little bit of a boost in the second half of the season with Cam Newton returning as the Panthers starting quarterback. At tight end, we have one of the Patriots' prized offseason acquisitions in tight end Jonnu Smith. There was a lot of debate whether or not the Titans should have paid the man and kept him around to keep another extra weapon for Ryan Tannehill. But why would the Titans need to pay him all that money when they've got 3 tight ends with damn near the exact same stat line? Jonnu Smith always looked like one of those guys that was right on the cusp of breaking out during his time with the Titans, and now that seems to be the weekly talking point for the Patriots, with each game being the next chance for a offensive explosion from Jonnu Smith. At offensive line, we've got one player, and yes, just one player, because this guy represents his entire offensive line playing poorly, and that is Austin Jackson, the Dolphins' former first-round pick. Jackson was drafted as a left tackle, and the Dolphins had to feel like there were some shades of Tyron Smith when selecting the USC lineman, but he has now had to be kicked inside to guard because he was so bad at tackle. But even there, he has been pretty terrible, along with the rest of his offensive linemen, and collectively, this might be the worst O-line in the NFL. Moving on to the all-disappointment defense. At edge rush, we have Chase Young, and after the rookie season that he had, it looked like he was about to become the next Myles Garrett, the next big thing, the next double-digit sack guy every single season. And after the first 2 months, he's only mustered a sack and a half. Now, he has been getting pressure, and this is also another representative pick of his entire defense because there could be quite a few selections from this Washington football defense, but since he is the face of the defense, he gets to suffer the consequences of being the biggest disappointment of all the 2021 NFL edge rushers. Moving into the defensive interior, we've got Chargers defensive tackle Jerry Tillery. Now, he's managed to get 2.5 sacks thus far, but when you're playing on a defense with Joey Bosa on one side of you, you should be able to fall into 2.5 sacks. The former first-round pick is also grading out terribly in PFF system, and the Chargers have got the worst run defense in the NFL this year, a trait that is definitely holding this team back in the AFC West. I kind of expect this team to move on from Tillery after this season. He's got 1 year left on his contract, plus the 5th-year option. He's definitely not worth paying the 5th-year option for, so maybe the Chargers could look to trade him next offseason. Then in a fresh start, in a better fit scheme, there's a chance for Jerry Tillery to rebound his NFL career. At linebacker, and this is going to be kind of a controversial one, I think, because I didn't expect this guy to be playing as poorly as he has or just being as ineffective as he has, and that's linebacker Patrick Queen. The Ravens' second-year player has only got 38 tackles, total tackles, and 1 sack, no passes defensed, and he is grading out very poorly in PFF's system. This is a player that is playing in a pretty stacked defense. There are a lot of playmakers all around him, and the team is good, and I think that he falls under the radar a little bit because of his supporting cast. But there's no question the Ravens expected their second-year linebacker to take a big step forward and for their defense to be performing a lot better because of it. However, that has just not been the case with Patrick Queen in 2021 thus far. At cornerback, we've got William Jackson III, and this was after the cornerback signed a 3-year, $40 million contract with the Washington football team. I told you that somebody else had to represent this defense because they came into the season expecting to be one of, if not the best defense in the league, and they have just not even come close to hitting that level of play. William Jackson personally has been pretty terrible. He does have 1 interception and 5 passes defensed, but this has just not been the impact that they expected from the veteran free agent when they signed him. He's also been in and out of the lineup with injuries, and then to add insult to injury, his former defense, the Bengals D, is absolutely thriving without him. And then at safety, we've got Jamal Adams. This is after he held the Seahawks hostage for a 4-year, $70 million contract. And the guy is not a coverage safety. We've known that. He's essentially an old school in the box safety. But it seemed like in 2020, at least the Seahawks had found out what he does well and were able to get almost 10 sacks out of the guy. So what do they do this year? They use him completely different. He has 0 sacks on the season and only 32 tackles, 2 passes defense. PFF hates him also. Yes, the Seahawks have been missing Russell Wilson for a month, but Jamal Adams has not been worth the multiple first-round picks that the Seahawks traded for him, and therefore an easy selection for the 2021 All Disappointment team. Please let me know in the comments who you would have nominated for this 2021 All Disappointment team. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know what you thought of the style. I have a few more videos that I plan on using this format for, so I would love to get your feedback. If you are wondering where the NFL Pick'em videos went, I apologize. I do have a pretty valid excuse, and I'll explain that in the next Pick'em video. I plan on getting back to do Week 11's picks. If this video gets 500 likes, I will make an updated version of it at the end of the season. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video.